Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Man, it's cold outside. This hemp robe is incredibly comfortable. I made it myself, by the way, on a sewing machine like 15 years ago. I like salty rants. I could actually get a lot saltier than this. I just actually have to really tame it down so people don't, they don't get like shocked with like salty sailor language. The one question that kind of irritates me the most, well, not really the most, is I actually call this a phenomena of, it's a type of a gear fetish, and I've called it black cat buttholes in the bottom of coal mines at midnight. Let me repeat that again really slowly. Black cat butthole photography in the bottom of coal mines at midnight. Interestingly enough, cameras actually do need light to work. Everybody wants to know which camera, and I do know for event photography and shooting shots in the chapel, obviously so of a wedding, and like the horse photography that I was doing recently. Even though that was outdoors, flash photography would not work because horses are schizophrenic animals, and the flash photography would scare the crap out of them. Some of them anyway, and they might buck and kick and knock their riders off, and the rider might break their neck and die simply because I used a speed light. So I do know about instances where not using any flash photography is mandatory. But there's this really sort of perverse gear fetish about insane low light performance, and I do know that there are event photographers out, people that actually need it, like I said, but it's really kind of overboard. I mean, if you want the best incredible low light camera, then, and I hate the camera because it's really a poor value and it has an anti-aliasing filter, and the image output is really good on it. It's still a $6,500 kit. No way. It would be like a Nikon D5. Nikon D4. There are some large photo site cameras. You know, the reason why those D4, D3, D5 cameras, and whatever the D6 will be, the D6 will have to max out no greater than 24 megapixels. The reason for that is to fit 24 megapixels on a full-frame sensor is the maximum if you want an insane, crazy, low-light performing full-frame camera. Nikon D750 is also 24 megapixel full-frame. Has incredible dynamic range, but the damn camera's had 4 recalls on it, the autofocus sucks on it, the buffer sucks on it, and the camera's been an absolute disaster for Nikon. But this black, and this is my own idea, that's what I decided to call it because it's extremely appropriate. Black cat butthole photography in the bottom of coal mines at midnight. You know, can the camera do that? Well, no camera can actually technically do that, but I mean, there are people that are, trying to pull the shadows, push the shadows out 3-4 stops and underexpose by 6 stops, and will it do it? Really? It's bad enough that everybody's adverse to flash photography. Actually, what they are is they're scared of flash photography. They shouldn't be. I mean, you'd think that everybody is a natural light photographer or something. The one thing that I actually like to talk about the most, personally, I like to talk about the most, and I've got more light mod videos than anybody else on YouTube, and if you actually took the top 20 YouTube photography channels, I have more light mods than all of them combined. But nobody likes to talk about that. I talk about, I don't know if it was a dream really, but I invented this unique light mod, and it's the most brilliant light mod. If I knew what this thing did and I saw it in a store, I would buy it. There's nothing else like this. I made a video on how to make this. This is actually a 7x10 plastic magnifying sheet. It's technically a Fresnel sheet. And it's perfect for macro, it's perfect for portraiture, it's wonderful. This is the one time you can actually leave your speed light in your hot shoe, which is basically where the worst lighting in the world is, and use this effectively, and it's brilliant. It gives you a sort of ring light, sort of flash illumination. It's perfect for hot shoe macro photography with a speed light. Nobody cares about this sort of stuff. I had a couple of people build one of these. It's really simple, and this is a really good light mod. And they're like, wow, I can't believe the results. I can't patent it because patents these days, to get a patent lawyer or file for a patent, is insanely expensive. But the point being is that all this, what do the images look like at 12,800 ISO, 3 stops underexposed when you push the shadows out? Really? Really? And like I said, I know where you can't use a speed light. It's not allowed. Events, clubs, the wedding chapel, like some of the horses I was shooting. Can't use speed lights, spook the animals. But 95% of everything else, unless it's too far away, you can't use it. For landscape photography, obviously so, you can in a limited fashion. Like painting as some of the foreground subjects and like astro photography, time exposure and stuff. But 95% of photography, you can add your own lighting. Here, let me point out something, and this is the kind of the brilliant part that I love, is that no matter what you think of me, here's a fact that's undeniable. What's most important in photography? Yeah, I know composition, all of that's important. Obviously, it needs to be in focus. I mean, forgetting about the obvious, the most important thing is lighting. Everybody should have a pair of speed lights and an awesome radio tree. Actually, everybody, if you want to buy the 860 rechargeable lithium pack, this is the 685, which takes 4 AA batteries. If you want the 860 units, which actually take the lithium packs, buy those instead. Either way, it's the same damn speed light, just different power sources. Go out and buy a 685 Godox for whichever pinout, be it Nikon or Canon or Sony, and an X Pro trigger. The both of these together are $170 total. This black cat butthole photography in coal mines at midnight stuff is getting a little bit out of hand. I don't know about that camera. What about the performance of a camera? What about its buffering capability? What about its accuracy? What about its eye autofocus? What about its build quality? What about its ecosystem and lens? There's like 1,000 things that are more important to me anyway than the performance of the camera at 12,800 ISO. ISO, by the way, is not part of exposure. ISO is applied gain. There's 3 aspects of exposure: gain in time, i.e. aperture and shutter speed, and SNR, signal to noise ratio. And that has to do with efficiency of the sensor, pixel pitch, micro lens design, a lot of other things. It's native gain. People that are actually ham radio operators know about gain because that's the same thing as an antenna. There are efficient antennas with really good SNR, signal to noise ratio, and there are inefficient antennas. They still work really well, like disco antennas, dipole antennas, but if you're not a ham radio operator, you don't know about signal to noise ratio relative to antenna design and geometry. There's actually a whole field of science on antenna theory. It's actually quite fascinating. Yeah, this black cat butthole photography stuff it's a little bit old. It's a little bit old. Are you an event photographer, a wedding photographer, or most of you aren't. So like 95% of people are asking you about the performance of a camera for photographic situations that they don't shoot. Everybody loves low light, high ISO performance. I mean, that's nice. Even I appreciate it. You can go out like a really dark street photography, crank it up to ISO 6400 and, push out the shadows. It's like, wow, there's sufficient information there. I mean, I know that's a nice feature, but don't you think it's a little bit overboard? Just a little bit overboard. People are actually complaining to me. It's like, why is the GFX, that really expensive medium format camera, why doesn't it have the high ISO performance of like a Nikon D850 or the new Sony A7 blah blah? Because that's what every Sony camera is. Every Sony camera is an A7 blah blah. It's like, well, that's not what medium format's for. Medium format is not for gritty, ultra low light photography where no lighting is used. It's not meant to be used that way. Every professional photographer that uses medium format digital doesn't really give a shit about gritty, ultra low light, high ISO performance on medium format. They don't. They don't, because all of them kind of suck relative to the highest performing DSLRs. And mirrorless, by the way. Should have said mirrorless and DSLR. Anyway, this wasn't a very salty rant. I meant to be more salty, except I was tired. When I get tired, it kind of takes the piss out of me. That's what the English people say. It took the piss out of you. Didn't know what that meant until a few years ago. Actually, I think it was like to the year 25 years old until I figured out what the hell a fortnight was. I kept hearing English people talk about a fortnight. So what the hell is a fortnight? It's 2 weeks. Makes sense. Crazy English people. Just kidding. I'm half English. Okay, just kidding. Someone's gonna write me an angry email. You said something bad about the English. I'm half English. Chill the hell out. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. This coffee sucks, by the way. It sucks.